Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of A Work in Progress. I am your host, Brent Files, and this is the good and the bad and the ugly Nitro edition. Um, with me, as always, is my co-host, my partner in crime, my tag team partner from across the ocean and from the future. Folks, he's more over than I don't know, nobody's more over than I completely skipped a whole bunch of that intro. That's fine. It's Jero, so not glad I have it here. Glenn, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thanks.
I'm sorry, I botched your intro.
That's all right.
Sometimes it happens. All right. Sometimes it happens.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, did you get to watch? Did you get to watch Raw today in the afternoon?
I did. Yes,
What time did it start for you?
3 o'clock.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't even know what time it was on here when the mayor messaged us and said that he was watching Raw and drinking green beer. I thought he was fucking crazy.
About 10 in the morning,
Yeah.
your time.
Yeah. Today is. Do you guys celebrate St. Patrick's Day over there in the in your neck of the woods, Glenn?
No, not really. A
Not
few
even
of the
in
pubs.
Ireland, huh? Just us
A few.
Americans, huh?
Yeah, that's basically it.
I've always said it. Give us a reason to drink beer in the morning, we'll take it. And that's fine. I'm not judging. I used to be one of those people. I'm just not one of them anymore. Uh,
Very true.
so the only thing I saw from Raw so far was I saw some of the John Cena promo, and I gotta say, we'll talk more about this with the mayor, but I gotta say that that's one of those promos where you look at it and you go, "Well, I didn't say anything that was a lie." It's like
No.
you can't even
Oh,
be mad at him because everything you said was true.
yeah. I felt the same way about New Day when they turned on Big E. There was nothing they said that wasn't true, but still didn't make them any less heel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But well, like I said, we'll talk more about that with the mayor when we talk to him tomorrow. And when I've actually seen more of Raw than I've seen at this point, because I haven't seen anything but 2 minute clips to like. But right now, we're going to review Monday Night Nitro from June 17th, 1996. Um, I'm bad journalism here because I didn't get where the show took place from. I apologize.
It's from Richmond.
Richmond, Virginia, huh?
It is, yeah.
So the old Richmond, Virginia. So this is also the Fallout show from the Great American Bash. If you did not hear that last week, we reviewed the Great American Bash, 1996, which we both thought was a pretty good show. It wasn't the best wrestling show I've ever seen, but also wasn't the worst ones I've ever seen. It's probably the best one WCW had put out in 1996 up until that point.
Well, that's true.
Because like the one I remember one of the WCW pay per views a couple months before this in March was the one where it was like Hogan and Savage versus like 800 guys
Oh God, that thing,
in that
yeah,
giant cage monstrosity.
yeah.
Yeah, uncensored. So yeah, we get into the show with the first with the open the show with Larry Zabisco and Tony Schiavone showing us footage of saying they're going to show us footage later of the Outsiders attacking Eric Bischoff's Great American Bash. Tony Schiavone called it the worst attack he has ever seen in his life.
Okay.
Let's just preface this by Tony Schiavone is going to many times say this is the biggest night in the history of our sport. So let's remember that when Tony Schiavone says
Yeah.
the worst beating he's ever seen. Um, Larry Zabisco condemns the two clowns for what they did Derek Bischoff. He says if they want a war, they've got it. We also find out that Mongo is the fourth member of the Horsemen now. Um, we'll wait with bated breath for still photos. But then we get into the first match of the evening. Stevie Ray and Booker T and Scott Steiner faced off last week, so I guess now this week the other brothers have got to face off. It's Stevie Ray versus Rick Steiner. Um, I'm not going to take anything away from these two guys, but I think if you line up, the two tag teams, these guys are the two lesser members of their teams. I'm not trying to disparage them in any way, but I think that's
Def-
fair to say.
oh, definitely. Yeah. Scott and Booker T are definitely the two single stars from these two tag teams.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, it doesn't last long. Rick got the win in under 3 minutes after a big clothesline, but the big story is what happens after the match. Glenn, what went down after the match?
Well, Booker T storms the ring and nails Rick with a standing sidekick. Then Ray with a powerbomb. Booker gives the goes for the Harlem Hangover. Scott runs down, protects Rick from the move, and gets hit with a double axe handle. That's what happened.
Yeah, so I mean, they won the battle, but they lost the war, so to speak, as they used to say back in the day. And I'm sure we will see these two teams have a match coming up soon, probably at Bash at the Beach, I would assume. And then we get to what was a pretty exciting match. You know, the fans all over the world were clamoring for this one in 1996. It's the one and only Joe Gomez, and he is taking on the man that Glenn is ashamed to share a name with, Mr. Disco Inferno. Yeah, I mean, I really think that they thought they had something with Joe Gomez, and I'm not sure what they thought they had.
No, it's hard to say what it was that they thought they had. He gets the win by pinfall, but all the bloody Disco Inferno was interested. He was making sure his hair was still in place.
Yeah, the one thing I will say for Joe Gomez, he became a babyface in my heart because Disco Inferno asked the fans if they wanted to see him dance. Of course, no one didn't. He said he was going to dance anyway, but luckily Joe Gomez saved us from that and started beating him up. But yeah, I don't know. This was nothing. Like I said, big plans for Joe Gomez. They did say during this that he is a big Chicago Bears fan. He just can't believe what Steve Mongo McMichael did. Just wait till we tell him about that time Mongo left the Bears to go play for the Packers. Then he's really going to be pissed.
Yeah.
This match was 68 seconds longer than the first match, but it felt about 10 minutes longer just because I wanted it to be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's over. Hopefully we never have to see that again. We didn't hear from Ric Flair. He's got woman Deborah and Liz with him. Liz said he's never been more disappointed in anyone as he is with Deborah McMichaels. And considering how long he's been in the wrestling business, I find that very hard to believe.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I don't know about that meme, Gene. She said she had to do it for the money. They talk about how Randy Savage will be taking on Ric Flair tonight. And, now the Horsemen are at full strength. He says everyone thinks he's afraid of Savage, but he's not. He'll be standing his ground tonight. Speaking of the four Horsemen, we get two of them in a tag team match. It's Arn Andresen and Chris Benoit, and they are taking on the
American males. The
American males, Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs. Benoit sporting a nice big shiner from his Falls Count Anywhere match with Kevin Sullivan. And I mean, I thought that Arn Andresen and Chris Benoit, for that matter, did a really great job of making the American males look like they were going to be a legitimate contending tag team for years to come.
Just a shame that it didn't quite turn out that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't wrestle Chris Benoit and Arn Andresen every night.
No.
And I'm not saying that Buff Bagwell doesn't have charisma or anything like that, but not the best wrestler in the world. And I don't think anybody's going to regard Scotty Riggs as one of the top 25 workers of all time either, or top 50, or top 100, or top 150. And I'm taking anything away from him. I'm just saying. So yeah, for what it was, I thought this was a pretty good match. I mean, better than I would have thought when I read that it was happening. As opposed to 2 odds, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There was plenty of stuff going on behind the referee's back, which seems to be a theme in WCW at this time.
Yeah. The crowd was firmly behind the Horsemen, and I realized they're in the South or in Virginia, and that's kind of like Horseman country. But I really, really thought the fans would really get behind the American Males with that catchy theme song, you know?
Yeah. They just didn't seem to do it.
No, they did not get it done. I mean, it's repetitive. You can sing it. I don't understand what the problem is. It's like Lil Jon. Anyway, Arn gets the win. Arn and Benoit get the win after Arn kicks Riggs in the back of the head while he's on the apron, and then Benoit rolls him up while Arn holds his feet for the 3 count. They do a promo after the match. Gene asks Arn what happened with Kevin Sullivan, and they talk about the whole wrestling world is shocked after Great American Bash. He says that people the people like people who say what they're going to do and then do it. So I guess that's a good point. And then he says that him and Sullivan had a business deal, and sometimes business deals go south. And he's sorry that he got the short end of the stick, but there's only room for 4 horsemen. And then Benoit said some things, but it wasn't very good. And it felt like somebody wrote it for him, probably Arn. But all in all, I thought it was a good match, good segment.
It was. Which is more going to be said about the next one. We've got Big Bubba Rogers with Jimmy Hart versus John Tenta again. I suppose they had to do it again because the last time Big Bubba ran away from John Tenta with the scissors.
Yeah. So this is like the 3rd show that we've done in a row that featured a match with these guys. So they had one match on Nitro, and they had a match at the pay-per-view, and now they've got this one. I'm not sure they need three matches, and they're going to get another one because they have another match at the Bash at the Beach. They did a drop kick in this, which was fun. I thought this match was better than the match they had at the Great American Bash.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, that's the one good thing I get away from it.
Yeah. John Tenta getting the pinfall win. And then all the action happened afterwards with Bubba nailing Tenta several times with a loaded sock. And it turns out that there was quarters in the sock.
Yeah, they were filled with silver dollars. He pours them out onto Tenta. This is going to lead to the pole match that I talked to you about. It's going to be called the Silver Dollar City match or some shit where they put a sock on a pole and fill it with these quarter things, and these 2 large men are going to have to figure out a way to climb the fucking pole to get it. Who decided? Who was like, you know what? Big Bubba versus, they need a blow-off match. They have a big feud. People are really into it. They're not. But we need to have a big blow-off at the pay-per-view. How about we put these 2 300-plus pound fucking monsters in a match where they have to climb a fucking pole?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see if the pole holds up.
I have a feeling that Jimmy Hart's going to be climbing that fucking pole because ain't nobody else out there going to be able to climb it, you know?
That's true. That is true, yeah.
So I totally see Jimmy Hart climbing that pole, which is not something you normally hear. Anyway, then we get back another backstage interview. This time it's with the Macho Man Randy Savage, who has been reinstated. We're taking on Ric Flair tonight. Mean Gene asked him what his plan was, and he says usually he has no plan, but tonight he's going to be very calculated and take his time. He says Ric Flair is worried about the women, and he doesn't know that he's in big trouble because the Macho Man never gives up. I can't do it like the mayor. Gene then asks him if he, got any counseling or anything while he was away, and he says he did see a woman psychiatrist, and that she did say that he has OCD because he is one cool dude.
Yes.
That's absolutely what OCD means. If you go to your therapist and he tells you have OCD, it means you are one cool dude.
One cool dude.
It doesn't mean you have to touch the doorknob 3 times before you go outside or your whole family will die. That's the real OCD.
Yeah.
And then we get into the match.
Anyway,
it's Randy Savage, Ric Flair.
We get Rick.
I thought it was funny when Savage started coming down to the ring. He chased Bobby the Brain Heenan down to the ring. Mm-hmm. How about that bump Heenan took out of the ring? He literally dove over the top rope to the floor.
He did.
And I've seen Bobby Heenan do that before in the '80s, but it's pretty crazy to see him do it in 1996 still.
Mhm.
I think by that time he had a couple of neck surgeries too.
Yeah.
You'll remember the Brian Pillman incident in 1995. I think actually '96 actually at the Clash of the Champions where he came up behind him and he like grabbed Bobby by like on the back and Bobby Heenan said, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
on national TV. Yeah, so I thought that was funny. But yeah, I mean, I love Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ric Flair. I mean, every match that they have, they seem to have really good chemistry together. I mean, I've heard Flair talk about his matches with Savage, and he says that they're not really his favorites because he was more of a call it in the ring guy, and Macho liked to have like everything sort of planned out.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show in their matches because I think they had great matches. Like Bret Hart and I think kind of had like they rubbed each other the wrong way in the way they set up matches, and you could tell when they worked together that it kind of it made friction within the two, and it made the matches not very good. With these two, is I don't know, maybe it's the total opposite because I could watch 20 Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ric Flair matches in a row, and I don't think that I would get sick of it.
No, that's right. I'm the same. Get the win against him. It took all four horsemen.
Yeah.
And again, it's this thing of the referee not actually seeing what's going on when the horsemen are concerned, anyway.
Yeah, those referees are the worst.
Yeah, aren't they?
They are very confused. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these guys fought all over the place. In the ring, up the aisle, down by the VIP table. Yeah, and then, everybody got involved in this. All the women got involved. Every one of the horsemen came out there. Finally, Mongo comes out there, hits Savage in the head with the briefcase. That isn't full of money anymore, apparently.
All right.
It's amazing how, if I can remember, I believe he carries that briefcase around for a long time. I'm like, how much money did they put in there, and how long could it possibly have lasted?
Who knows? I wouldn't have thought it would have been that long.
You wouldn't think. I mean, considering Ric Flair's tax situation, I imagine he couldn't add more than $200 in his bank account. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I'm sure we'll see more matches between these two as the days go on. But I don't know. Things are really going to shift when the NWO really kicks into effect. So a lot of this stuff might not even matter anymore by then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
We then hear from Kevin Sullivan and the Giant. Gene asks Sullivan about what happened at the bash. Sullivan also has some nice facial bruising from the battle with Benoit. Jimmy Hart starts off by telling Sullivan, you shouldn't have trusted the Horseman. I told you not to trust the Horseman. He talks about the match of the batch. He tells Arn that there's a fine line between pain and pleasure, but in Sullivan's mind, he likes that fine line. And the Giant starts talking like a man who can't breathe. He says, the Horsemen think they're so elite that none of them are the world champion. They're scared, and they can't take the world title off of me. And somebody give me my inhaler because I can't breathe.
Excellent.
That's exactly what he sounded like.
Excellent.
Yeah, so there's that, and then we
get a video package.
Yep.
Promoting the new wrestler Glacier. He will be coming in July, apparently.
Wow. Talk about bad timing. They're trying to bring in this new hot gimmick, and they got this new thing called the NWO. And people are like, who the fuck is Glacier?
Exactly. Even now, they're still, who's the heck is Glacier?
And I'm not sure that he would have. I'm not sure the NWO stopped him from getting over. I don't think that character was going to get over at all. I don't know. I think it was they're trying to take a Sub-Zero gimmick from Mortal Kombat, who I think they were going for. Yeah. And they just couldn't call him Sub-Zero, so they called him Glacier.
Glacier.
They should have called him Iceberg, and then his whole gimmick could have been, I took down the Titanic. It should have been his whole gimmick.
Yeah, that would have been good.
That would have been good, yeah. Then they show us the still shots of, what they promised us, Hall and Nash, pounding Bischoff, and then from all the matches. And then we got another really good matchup. A rematch from the pay-per-view the night before. It was Rey Mysterio challenging Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight Championship. You could really go tit for tat on either one of these matches. They were both really, really good, but I couldn't say if either one of them was better than the other one. But I mean, obviously another really great match between these two, and they would go on to have many, many, many more great matches to come.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually think that this one just shaved it slightly.
Yeah, you thought this was a better match than the Flair Savage?
Yeah, just slightly.
Yeah, I like the finish of this better. The finish isn't as hokey as the Flair Savage one.
No, that's right. Anyway, it's still WCW Cruiserweight Champion Dean Malenko via pinfall to take the win. And as you say, there wasn't anything as hokey in the finish to this one as there was in the other one.
Yeah, so that's definitely why. I think me and the mayor ranted about on the show last week about it was false finishes. I think that we were upset about. So maybe never mind. I scratched that. Put it in reverse. It doesn't apply to this because we weren't railing on bad finishes. We were railing on false finishes. That's what it was. Yeah. So then we go to it's the main event of the evening. I think. Has the Giant defended the WCW championship on every single Nitro that we've watched? I think he has.
I think so. He was a busy boy back then.
Because he faced Ice Train, right? Scott Norton. He faced John Tenta when he was still the Shark, when he was still an amphibian. Yeah. Actually, I think dolphins are mammals. So never mind, I take that back. And then this week he faced Scott Steiner. So yeah, he's a busy guy. Scott Steiner's ribs are heavily taped from the attack from Harlem Heat at the top of the show. He tries to body slam the Giant immediately, which Bobby the Brain Heenan points out is a really fucking bad idea when you've got bad ribs.
Exactly. Not a good idea when you're fully fit.
Yeah, not a good idea if your ribs are fucking healthy. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I mean the fans were not into this match at all. Like they seemed to be sitting on their hands, and it took a while for it to really get going. I think it was really until the end when they brought the big giant wooden chair into the ring. This match was just, to me, it was boring. I felt really bored during this match.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. Yeah, the chair was the most interesting part about it.
You don't know what it is about a big wooden chair, but it really spices things up, doesn't it?
It does.
Where do they get those fucking big ass wooden chairs? From the deck of the Titanic? I know I brought that up, and that's the second time we brought up the Titanic here, which is weird. But where did they? That thing was huge.
God knows.
It was ginormous. Anyway, so yeah, they try to hit him.
The Giant must have a stockpile of them.
That's probably true. It's the only chairs the Giant can sit in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he hits the Giant in the head with it right in front of the referee, and I guess because the Giant just didn't sell it and immediately chokeslammed him, the ref was like, "Well, I'll just count this 3. There's no need to DQ anyone." Yeah, and so the Giant wins. It wasn't very eventful until the chair got involved. I will say they do a good job of making the Giant look very strong, because right now he literally looks invincible. Like there's nothing you could do to stop him at this point.
That's basically the show. But we've still got to do the good, the bad, and the ugly for it. The good was Mysterio, Malenko.
Yeah.
Savage and Flair, of course.
Right.
The bad was some of the booking, Disco Inferno for 110. And the ugly.
Let's just say anytime Disco Inferno shows up, it's ugly. It's just ugly. Doesn't matter what he's involved in. It's just ugly.
No. And Joe Gomez can't wrestle. John Tenta not shaving his hair completely. They're the ugly bits.
Still one handsome son of a bitch with only half his haircut, Glenn. It doesn't matter what his hair is like.
Oh God, yes, definitely.
Well, they did do at the end. They did the big announcement where they announced who the 3 guys were going to be that face the outsiders at Bash at the Beach, and they told us that they took the top 6 guys and they went by win-loss records, and it was Hogan, the Giant, Ric Flair, Luger, Sting, and Savage, and then they just picked the 3. I guess they drew them out of the hat. They didn't say, and the 3 selected, of course, are Savage, Sting, and Luger. And then it's funny because Tony Schiavone then says, those are going to be the 3 guys that will defend WCW against these outsiders at the Great American Bash. So I guess we have to wait till next year.
Yeah.
In Tony's defense, though, you got the Great American Bash, then you got the Bash at the Beach. There's too many fucking bashes.
There are too many bashes.
I can tell you one thing, Glenn, though. Bash at the Beach will, in fact, be the greatest night in the history of our sport. And you know it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Anyway, I'm gonna give it a thumbs up.
I do too. I mean, it had enough good in it that I don't think we can argue that it gets a thumbs up. It was a good show. I think this was the best Nitro we've watched thus far.
It was. It wasn't good enough to get 2 thumbs up, but definitely a good solid 1 thumbs up.
Yep, I absolutely agree. It was an easy show to watch. Definitely, it didn't feel like a chore sitting through it, so that was good. But that's it. That is the review for this episode of Nitro. Glenn, who do you want to plug before we get out of here?
First, I want to say, well done to both Newcastle and, of course, Arsenal beating Chelsea as well, as we didn't talk about football earlier.
I gotta say though, Glenn, would it kill him to score another goddamn goal? Jesus, he got me watching this thing with my hand like this.
Yeah, I know.
Damn it! I need another goal.
Yeah. Anyway, apart from that, I'm booking the territory, the first and last of wrestling and their side projects. Unstacking the Dadatory, the Road to Wembley 1981 for Big Daddy and Giant Haystacks, and the most watched wrestling match of all time. 18 million viewers watched that.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. It is
way more people than watch this Nitro we just talked about.
Yeah. I'm booking the Tankatory, the Life and Times of Tank Abbott, being the Elite Gator Golf, and of course,
the Doctor Who podcast with Danny Inside. That's on SJP World Media. Be on the lookout. I will be on that show very soon.
And DDT Wrestling with DC and Doc.
Make sure you all those fine people will follow and to listen. And give a follow to the other member of our podcast team. He's currently drinking green beer in a bar somewhere. He is the mayor of Canton. You can follow him on that app that he's on. You can follow him there. It's at Mayor of Canton. And make sure you give us a subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. If you have not heard, Tuesday night, April the 15th at 8:30 Eastern time, that is when we will be doing our live WrestleMania preview show. So make sure you tune in for that. That's going to be on YouTube. We will give you all our WrestleMania picks, and I'm sure other shenanigans, because we're always up to shenanigans every time we get on the airwaves. So check that out. That'll be on April 15th. That is a Tuesday, as I said. And yeah, we have a new episode of The Life and Times of Psycho Sid out right now. So go out to YouTube and check that out. I did an episode last week with the mayor where we started watching WrestleMania 2. We will continue watching WrestleMania 2 this week. And if you didn't hear on that show, I announced it after we get done watching WrestleMania 2. 2 more episodes of WrestleMania 2. We are going to start watching some TNA/Impact Wrestling. We're going to go back to their weekly pay-per-view days and see what that has to offer for us. I'm pretty excited about that. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for all of that. Follow us on Blue Sky. It's at AWIPOD. And that's it. I got nothing else to say. The only thing left to say is for Glenn to say goodbye.
Goodbye.